Hi, group. I looked at your questions, Kimmy, and one of the things, or two of the things actually, that I immediately kind of looked at were some of the theories from this week's reading, as well as the idea of learning outcomes. Um, but before I get to those, I thought it was really important that the readings kind of distinguished between engagement and involvement, especially when it came to your questions about overengagement and membership. Um, so, like I said, I thought it was important that they discuss the difference between the two because engagement is um, the participation in educationally effective practices, both inside and outside the classroom, which leads to a range of measurable outcomes. That was in the Harper book. And involvement, on the other hand, has no emphasis on learning or outcomes. I thought this was kind of important in over engagement because, I mean, I think any kid can get over involved or over engaged, but we as student affairs professionals have a big part in whether or not a student becomes over engaged. And that is basically dependent upon how many learning outcomes that we create for our students. And one of the ways that we can help them from becoming overengaged is by not creating too many. The best way to go about it would be to create a few clear learning outcomes that require high level thinking because this not only helps engage students but also helps them in terms of their development. In terms of membership, specifically membership without leadership in an organization, I definitely think it could be useful for students so long as they are engaged, which is kind of why I was trying to tie the two together. Uh, in terms of engagement, I could be a student who, is just involved in HESA and is going to meetings, but is just kind of sitting in the back of the room on my phone. Or I could be engaged in the HESA meetings and offering my opinion, voting on an issue, taking notes, um, finding some other way to volunteer within the organization. But again, so long as um, the student is engaged within the organization, membership is definitely a useful thing and something that can be beneficial for them. Membership is also important for psychosocial as well as cognitive development. And for the two of these, I looked over Kohlberg's theory of moral development and Kegan's orders of consciousness. According to Kohlberg's theory, encouraging students not only to join memberships but to be engaged within the membership helps them to reach the post-conventional level of his theory of moral development. This basically means that students are now able to make decisions based on social contracts or serving anonymous others versus just trying to please people who have authority over them, like family members or friends. So they're joining these student organizations in order to, you know, create or add their input to kind of help the good of the group. They're not just joining to go sit in the meeting and listen to whatever's going on, but not engage in what's going on. They're going with their own ideas, their own morals, their own values, and their input in turn should help improve or help better the group as a whole. Somewhat similarly, Kegan's third order of consciousness suggests that students who become members of organizations are able to have a complex internal psychological life, but they're also able to orient to the welfare of a human relationship, construct values and ideals self-consciously, but also subordinate their own interests in comparison to the good of the group. So just like Kohlberg, uh, this development comes from joining that organization with the ability to think about more than just yourself. But Keegan also suggests that you move to also having a point of view, which kind of parallels with the whole idea of engagement. You're getting yourself completely invested into being a member of that group and having a part in that social contract of that group instead of just sitting back and sitting in the conventional level of Kohlberg's theory. Now, for the sake of answering the third question and not sounding like a complete idiot, I'm actually going to have to get back to you on the whole idea of being more student centered with the exit of the vice president because, frankly, I don't know enough about his departure to provide any real insight. I guess coming from it, just from a complete outsider's perspective, I don't know that getting rid of one person in general will make something more student centered unless things are being realigned. But like I said, I definitely want to look more into it and kind of do some more research before I give you a solid answer. So if anybody else has any more insight that they'd like to provide, that'd be great because I have no idea.